All right, from the Sweden Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Thorsten accepted the invitation to our show. Thorsten, welcome to my humble podcast, my friend.
Hey, Claudio, great to be here again.
No problem. Thank you, man. And for an early age, you display an extraordinary interest in music. I was reading in your background. You began writing melodies on paper at the age of 7 in 1984. And of course, at the time, you were immersed in classical music with Wagner, Telemann, Mozart, and of course, you were attending private lesson 4 times a week. At the time, over a decade on piano, flute, violin. That laid the foundation for your upbringing. What memory do you have from that at the time?
So it was a lot of music. So I started with record and flute. That's why Telemann is probably an influence, because if you playing classical music by record and flute, it's often Telemann. And then so the father of my no, not grandmother. So in my family there was one uncle who played viola in the Berlin Opera, and so there was always a piano, synth, instruments in some living room in the family. So I really was interested in playing that, and then I joined kind of the first school was very music related. So there was normal lessons till like 2 p.m. and after that single lessons in instruments. So there I learned violin, piano, flute, and things like that, and also was part of the radio youth orchestra in Berlin, what was called SFB, as a SFB, which is now RBB. Playing youth orchestra stuff on violin, and I always enjoyed making music. There was probably 2 years around 6th grade. What was 6th grade? Maybe 92, 91, something like that.
Yeah.
No, 7th grade. So around that, where I lost interest in music for 1.5 years, and thought maybe I should play tennis more often and things like that. But after 1.5 years, I recognized that everything else is much worse than making music, and returned to it, and then started my first bands, and had a cassette 8-track recorder from Yamaha MT8X, something like that. You have a normal MC and could record 8 tracks on it, and use the 8-track, so 7 normal and an MTC code on the 8 to synchronize the Atari computer, which allows to record another 16 or sometimes 32 MIDI channel instruments. So I think it was in Berlin in the early 80s, mid 80s, was a very kind of isolated and strange place, because I was growing up in West Berlin, so around was the wall and the GDR, and so if we would like to travel to the Baltic Sea, we had to cross the GDR like always 2.5 hours. So if you're leaving Berlin, you have to take the transit, which was the highway in the GDR, to the next Western Germany place, and this was quite a very silent or calm youth, I guess. Playing music and living, but close to the wall, but on the western side of Berlin.
I got you. I want to ask you your opinion. Of course, Berlin happens to be the capital of electronic music in the world, right? Why do you think that's the case? I mean, there are so many bands and group and musicians that were
Mhm.
playing electronic music in Berlin. Why do you think is the case? Why no London or Paris, being the capital? What do you think that Berlin is kind of the capital, of electronic music?
So I'm not 100% sure about that. I think also Düsseldorf had a complete different approach. You had Kraftwerk, Neu, La Düsseldorf,
Yeah.
people which were studied musicians. And in Berlin, you had more the alternative art scene, and people started bands in that isolated place. So West Berlin itself is not so big because
I
it's
see.
the half of it,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure like 100, whether like 1.5 million people, something like
Yeah.
that, maybe. So it's not
Yeah.
not a big city like Paris or London.
Yeah.
We take only West Berlin, and they started music as art form for free kind of things like Ashra Temple, Klaus Schulze, Agitation Free, and Tangerine Dream. And that was a totally different approach to the guys from Düsseldorf, and even from the kind of idea of music. So Jean-Michel was in Java was at the same time, but was very influenced by France composer.
Yeah.
And I think the Berlin scene was even in need for creating music that is not a blueprint of existing music. So there was a lot of Schlager and very middle of the road German pop music in that times. And on the other hand, you had German bands, and this is a quote from Harald Grosskopf, which I find brilliant. He said that the Scorpions tried to sell Coca-Cola to German people because they were copying, in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
the idea and the concept of American and English hard rock bands.
Gotcha.
And in Berlin there was free-form electronic music trying to find new sounds,
Yeah.
and it was really kind of new sounds. So I can't imagine the scenario, to be honest. So when you now turn on the radio or internet or something, you can listen to electronic music.
Yeah.
There wasn't a blueprint for electronic music in '67. So everyone had this instrument just in that moment without, okay, you had Oscar Sala doing the Bird soundtrack and things like that, but it was more doing effect music over very minimal stuff, having some peaks of electronic sounds somewhere, but to make popular music with electronic instruments was relatively new in that time. And so you can't just copy someone, but you had to find your own way. And I think even that was a big difference, Düsseldorf and Berlin. Düsseldorf, Kraftwerk was very schematic, was very much on the point, and very structured. And 67 until 74 was very free-form music by Tangerine Dream, Ashra, and all that people then. And it was kind of influenced by classical music in form, I guess, to that you have time, that you don't need to do the 2.5, 3.5 minute songs.
Yeah.
You could do pieces of music that last 15, 20 something music, or playing concerts in totally free form for 1.5, 2 hours. And it was isolated, and it was kind of, I think, a cheap living in Berlin in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Cheap for artists. You could afford at least a flat or a shared flat. while doing music and not have to go to work, which is distracting you probably from doing free music. Yeah, that's yeah. Maybe it's totally different, but this could be one of 1,000 answers.
I got you. Thank you very much. Yeah, because good insight there. And of course, in when you were 17, 1994, you ended up forming your own band, Minory, right? And they were performing a lot of concerts, releasing new material.
Yeah.
You were, of course, incorporating ambience and electronic music, and of course, you develop an interest in synthesizer-driven soundscape. What memory do you have for that period?
This was intensive. So it was my double partner on tenors was the bass player, and we talked about it was kind of gothic rock-esque or wave rock, and they tried to play a little bit like a New Model Army, and they invited me as a violin player. But I can't afford an electric violin, and it was always hard doing the now. So we can't afford a real PA. So it was hard to get through all the guitar amps. So it was easier to play synthesizer and keyboards that days. And this was the first contact for me to alternative or independent music. Before I listened to classical music and things like maybe normal rock. I really liked the grunge movement, but more Pearl Jam because I really like Eddie Vedder's voice, and I was keyboard-wise very much into Stevie Wonder and things like that. I really adore that, but I didn't know about gothic rock or metal, and so I was the youngest in the band starting in Minory, and so it was. I got in contact with the Mission, Fields of Nephilim, Sisters of Mercy, the Smiths, and then also the Trees, things like that. So it's more the rocky side of goth rock, not the electronic side. And I started doing the normal keyboard work in that in that scene as playing choir sounds, string sounds, some piano. If you want to annoy the mixer or the mixing person, use a very big church organ because you use all frequencies. But that was very good that days. Okay. And all the tiny string synthesizer sounds like the Cure, which I really love, and it was very. So spending hours and hours 2 times a week with people with that feeling of a band. If you're young, it's unbelievable. Like sitting there creating music, sharing dreams about stupid scenarios that could happen if someone listens to a concert or the tape their days. So I think the first normal CD was I guess 97, 96. It was a collaboration with one of my best friends, Timothy Maldry. Is very goth, and not really. It's like Scott Walker goth, not really Marilyn Manson type of. Yeah, you know what I mean. So it was called Tribute to the Dark Side of David Bowie, and that was the first normal CD, like printed as a CD, not burnt, that was available at shops. And to be honest, I never got a copy, so I go to Media Markt, which is a CD record shop, and bought it.
Yeah.
So I bought my first. So, yeah.
Good for you. Good for you.
And there I played. We did the cover of Moonish Daydream from Ziggy Stardust because we had a kind of ironic problem with songs that have or has too many oh yes in it. So it's always kind of ridiculous to say yeah, but and this is one of the only songs where oh yeah works quite well inside a track from our perspective. No, but it was adventurous to play all the small concerts, and then it was quite okay. So we sold out some 100, 200 people clubs in Berlin, getting bigger. But then again, it is the age where people after school, that person go to the university in that city, that person has a relationship, maybe a child with 21 something, so broke up, and there was many lineup changes because of not personal arguing reasons, but just that things in life changed in that age. It's quite normal. And I had the time, I think I was in 8 bands in Berlin, just to have, so yeah, after school and after work, I had always a rehearsal with some bands and try to be present in Berlin. And that helped me, so I guess. So after that, I played also a lot of dark metal, which is now called extreme metal, like Black Death, something metal. And I was regular synth player in the studio where all the black metal and death metal bands recorded. And this fun anecdote about this is I have no overview how many records I played, because it was always the same front of house guy or the producer, and they just came in and just roughly met one people of the, or mostly guy of the band, and the reason they always ask a synth player, not from the band. So sometimes the drummer was the kind of band leader. In metal, it's more common than the singer. And if the drummer wasn't able to play on the click, you can't cut things after it. And sometimes you need to hire other people who played on the drums because you can't quantize it. And that was the reason I played a lot metal albums, and even that follow the kind of causal system. One of the gothic rock bands or gothic metal bands, one of the lead singer and guitar players of Sepulchre Mentis, which is a goth metal band from Berlin, but kind of great, was working in Edgar's office. And so and Edgar looked for, so tell me 3, 4 guys, probably 3 in Germany who could maybe play with us and work for us in the studio. And I was one of the 3 recommendations from the singer and guitar player of Sepulchre Mentis, because he was working for Foreign Affairs in Edgar's office by that day's TDI, not Eastgate. TDI was the name of their record company before.
Before Eastgate, gotcha. Wow, man, you have very good memory. Okay, before we talk about Tangerine Dream, you of course in 2003, you began initiating your solo exploration via the Picture Palace music, remember? And what was the main motivation for you to kind of do that?
It was mostly of the members where it was also many lineup changes. I played before with the same people in a swing band called The Swing Band, and I was playing drums. Chickadee all the time. And and then we thought about playing live music to silent movies. And we did this quite a lot. And then this was the reason for Picture Palace music. We were playing in cinemas to old silent movies like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, Faust, Metropolis, things like that. With a live band, and sometimes up to 12 people. Like creating a new score for old movies. And I really enjoyed it. This was kind of the mixture of electronic music, because there's an unwritten rule for all band keyboarders or synthesizer players in the whole world, I guess. The bass player would never record the band. It's always the job of the keyboard player, don't know why. So you're playing keyboards, you have the computer, you're the guy for producing and record the band. And so I started doing electronic music because it was before only playing pads and melodies live with two hands. I started producing music more in an electronic music way. And it fits quite well to that kind of music, but combined with 3 or 4 guitar players, a bouzouki player, electric bass. We had 3 drummers, and it was much fun, and it was also adventurous, doing a very loud thing, and it worked sometimes quite well. Doing this, and I really, that was the time also I start loving post-rock, like Godspeed Your Black Emperor, Sigur Rós, Explosions in the Sky, bands like that, to combine the electronic music I did with normal band music and all the tremolo guitars. But I loved that so much, and I guess there was even not so many blueprints for electronic music with 3 drummers and post-rock influences and some folk instruments. So we use and clarinet and oboe and bouzoukis. It was more related. So like Nosferatu and Faust. Especially Nosferatu, to get the Romanian touch. It's great to have oboes and flutes and ukuleles and bouzoukis in it. And yeah, and it grows always. And I think I'm not sure, last album was 2014 with Picture Press Music. So around that, we did a lot of side movie related albums, and I think 3 normal albums. There was kind of theme related. The one first was the Passion Sundays before Easter. Indulge the Passion was one, and Midsummer. For the Scandinavian Midsummer celebration day. Yeah, and then some other soundtracks. I think we did Remnants, which is star signs moving through the gaps of Stonehenge. So it was kind of a time-lapse movie. You see all the star signs moving through. You have cameras in the middle of Stonehenge and are shooting the movements of star signs around that.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was not an easy soundtrack. I remember doing the first scene. I had to record, I think, 15 times, because if you're shooting star signs and maybe one year, these 3 days are cloudy, you have to wait 1 year. And after having all the full shots the filmmaker would like to have, it was 5 years. And in this 5 years, he used guide music to cut his scenes.
Yeah.
And he was so connected to the music he heard before 5 years by cutting the scenes and waiting for a not cloudy day to shoot another star sign movement, that it was hard to came with something new to his ears, and he said, no, that's not cool, that's not enough, and do more that or that or that. So I think it was the first scene, and after that I had a kind of a clue what he's liked to have. But I think the 5 minutes, 6 minutes. It was 15 different versions. And I thought, oh, that is a tough work.
I know, I understand. And of course, man, you have very good memory. I wouldn't remember anything, man. And then, of course, in 203, right, your path intersected with Tangerine Dream when you joined as recording engineer and provided some behind the scene support during tours and session, right? And eventually, 2 years later, you were asked to join the band in 2005. What you have memories or the
Yeah.
support that you provided during the tour and sessions and so forth?
So the first contact was Edgar was calling me on phone. So
Yeah.
I sat at home and so, oh, I heard about you, and without being prepared for it. So the Martin, who's is a singer, didn't tell me that Edgar or someone, even that he didn't mention me or that he gave Edgar my number. So I was sat on my balcony and so it's Edgar Froese. He said, whoa,
Wow.
okay. And we talked a lot about progressive music and the idea of electronic music, and now it's too much when I'm saying that. Then after half an hour call, 1 hour call, whatever, he called me again and asked me which time is your on which time was your birthday. So I'm not so much into horoscopes, to be honest, but Edgar was picky even about that. So I called my mother. So I know my birth date, but not the time.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, and then he double checked this, and then we had maybe 2 or 3 other calls before I got my first flight ticket to Vienna. And he was also very picky about which instrument do you use, which DWA, because so it was luck on so many levels. So if I would have used Logic or Pro Tools, I wouldn't be here, probably. So it was very crystallized that I should use Cubase. So I'm an Atari guy, so I always use Cubase.
Cubase, yeah.
And to be honest, it's all, yeah.
All right, still there. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's still there. And some instruments, like some Korg instruments, some usual instruments like M1, Z1, wave station, things like that. And if I know some working with samplers, so I knew there was a computer system called a Giga Sampler. You had a designated computer only for sampling, and I knew this and Marillion. Maybe that rescued me because I never used archive sampler. I always used Yamaha sampler because you had 128 megabytes instead of 32. But so I was invited to join, to just have a test 2 weeks in a studio near Vienna, and there was a time he recorded Purgatorio, the Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy part, and it worked quite well. So I really love working. So I really love to work. Okay, I really love music work. I hate emails and things like that. But and after 2 weeks, he asked, "Could you stay longer? If you like, for the weekend." Because it was strange in my relationship that days. So I said, okay, I'm away for 2 weeks, and then asked, could you stay 3 months? Okay, we can fly in your girlfriend if you want to say hi to her. Said, okay, it was nice, and then he asked, did you ever recognize that we have a garden and a big pool? So no. Why? So I'm sitting here working, and that track isn't done yet. So, and I think that was the shared idea of working. Why I stayed, and I think it was half a year from that. And it was summertime 2003, and in summer 2004 they asked me to join. So I'm official since 2005, but we had an album early 2005, and you must compose and produce it before. So we started 2004 recording the album together with Jerome called Jeanne d'Arc. And then 2005 we played some concerts and a small tour. Then we recorded Paradiso and other things. 2006 was kind of a combination of everything. So we recorded, I know it was probably not the best idea to do this. And it was not my idea. So Edgar listened to Picture Palace and my goth bands. So I really like the singer, let's do something with singing. And so I'm not sure. So we did Madcaps and the cover album, and the singer was a guy from Minory and Picture Palace Music. Christian Hausel is my old singer from 30 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
2 years ago. That's unbelievable, to be honest. And so we recorded even the didgeridoo on Astrophy and Stella, and the bouzoukis are played by Picture Palace and Minory guys. But they were credited on the album. It was kind of fun to combine everything. So that's probably not the best idea to do a vocal album with Tangerine Dream. Is probably after. So it's fun doing this, and it was great. We were very proud of some tracks, but maybe it's just not the best idea. So yeah, and since then I visited Edgar at least half a year per year, and living in his house in Austria, and and he also had a studio in the near of Berlin, like very near, like 1 kilometer of the border. And spent the other time there, and recording and composing wall to wall, and talking about the music every night for hours. So the first 1.5 years I sat in the same studio just beside Edgar, and he was explaining so many things. And there was the time if I was playing something, he was sitting beside me and said, okay, maybe you should do this in a different way. Or normally the problem of my music, I hope I was getting better in the last years, was stacking too many sounds. So it was, okay, I have that solo sound, and maybe I should add a bell sound, a choir sound, and a harsh mini-moog lead sound on top of it. But it was too much, probably. And he said, let's mute that, cut that 8 bars, and it was very productive, because that kind of electronic music was not my style or my music before. So I never used a sequencer in that way.
I see.
And so it's good and bad on some levels, I guess. I learned everything about programming step sequences and bass lines. So I normally had a bass player. So I never programmed a bass line, because I would have get trouble from the bass player using the same frequencies. But Edgar taught me to do the sequencer thing, and how to program 16 steps, 32 steps or less, and doing odd time signatures against 4/4, like the ricochet thing, and then use the idea of odd steps like 4s and 7s in the scale, that you can create tension, and then release it on one point that everything is rolling again in 4/4. And there are so many routes I've never thought about before using sequencers, and that was quite like learning new instruments and new music. And I think what was also a very big part of staying there was to find a shared language about tension envelopes, sounds, and things like that. Because if you listen to Meter, which is unbelievably great, but it seems to try to emulate physically existing instruments. It sounds very much like a trumpet, very much like a oboe or clarinet, or a string sound, like a viola, like the physical existing instrument. In Tangerine Dream, you use a lot of abstract kind of sounds. You have long envelopes as filter sweeps, and using it in a new way, just creating things that are not existing in the real world. So it's so important to use like impulse answer, like reverb as well, because our instrument as per se doesn't exist. So you can use in a spacey, which is a strange word, kind of way. So, but finding the same or a shared language, probably not the same, but he could describe things that are very abstract, and I could understand these things and react in a way that he was understanding what I meant. So in classical music, you just write, okay, this is for the trombone, and in a good word, it sounds like a trombone, like you hear the things in your head.
Yeah.
But this describing a... So it was sometimes he was describing things like it's more sandpaper, it's more satin, it's more woolly. The problem is I'm colorblind, so sometimes he described things because he was came from sculpturing and art and was from painter. That blue colors are more in front of so I'm even not sure about that, what he said, because I can't imagine red and green because I'm red, green, brown blind, totally. And so he described things like that color is more in front of others, make this sound more blue. And I was like, okay, so I can't share that idea because I never saw a red thing on a picture because I
Sure.
can't see red.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't imagined what people could see, but no, it's not. But describing things and getting a result that he is kind of keen with or satisfied took a while, but it was worth the effort for him, I guess. So that's why I also hear.
Man, what memories you have, great, man. Of course. And unfortunately, about 10 years after that, in January 2015, unfortunately, Edgar ended up, passing away. And then it was the news all over the world, and it was very sad. And of course, put more pressure on you because then you end up becoming the band leader and the musical director, if you will, right? And you were using not just a musician, but you were like a managerial role, a managerial duties as well, right? On top of music, right? And try
Yeah.
to follow the legacy of Mr. Ross, which is a lot to say, right? How you manage that? Because it was very all of a sudden, you are in the spotlight and you have managerial duties and tasks, and eventually, Paul, Yoshiko joined the band, and so it was turbulent time. How you manage that the transition before you became the band
So
leader?
so the transition starts kind of before. So he gave me my musical director role in, I think, 11 or 13. So preparing the concerts. So we were always composing the albums together, most of them, not all, and doing the rehearsals. He was very much into the graphic design and management instead of rehearsing. I can understand that, to be honest. He was so much into creating new music and playing it live, but not the... So it was a 5-piece or sometimes 6-piece band then, and where sometimes a lot of rehearsals, and I was doing this. Then he changed the lineup 2014 in summer. to have the idea to coming back to the kind of core. When there's a core idea, and at least Edgar could say this, could say this every time, the core idea was coming back to electronic-driven music, like a sequencer-driven music. So no saxophone, no normal, usually played guitar, which is not a judgment, but not the, I mean, effect guitars or a single solo line is fine, but always from 1 to 100, everything was too much, and percussion was probably too. Only doing electronic music with acoustic instruments, and Hoshiko joined us in 2011. She stayed because she's using so many effects and could also play, which is sometimes strange for the audience. There are guitar pedals from Electronic Harmonics, M-Tape something, and she can play mellotron sounds with it. So I probably would never, but 5% all of the choir sounds are from me, from my side, and 95% of the mellotron choirs are played by Hoshiko with the violin.
With the violin,
and
wow.
You can maybe combine sustained violin better in electronic music than other instruments. Because it's, the idea, and then you have a steady tone, which even there are some filter movements on her loops. She's creating loops as well, but it was more than doing just acoustic violin. So that's why she's playing a violin viola combination. It's a 5-string violin, in her case. And so we played the last concerts in November or December. November 2014 as a 4-piece piece, because he invited Ulrich Schnaus to join us in summer 2014. So it was Hoshiko, Edgar, Ulrich, and me, and there were so many plans. And sad for the last email so we normally had the Christmas time at home, and then we had a planned the next half year production time in Austria from mid-January, and the last email I got from Edgar was kind of 10th January. So I bought new sound cards. See you next week, and then he sadly died. And the strange things is sometimes people said, okay, he looked ill, but I saw him every day and didn't recognize us as well as other people who see people from 3 months, so 1 day in 3 months, or then half a year later, you probably recognize changes more than if you see a person every day.
Every day, correct, yeah.
And it was surprising, at least for me, that he died, and I was never the one who raised his hand and said, I'm going to do this now. So he had planned for every scenario, and there was the idea that music and a band and the concept and the philosophy behind idea of music could live longer than the individuals inside the band.
Sure.
The idea itself could live longer than a single person. So it wasn't just another quest from my teacher, to be honest. And we tried it. We needed, I think we played some concerts before and then doing Quantum Gate. I have a lot of artists with Edgar's, some new sketches, some old sketches, but on different production levels. So sometimes it is notes, like chord structures. But he did this before on the poems series, giving me chord structures. And sometimes MIDI arrangements, which is kind of easy to change sounds, and sometimes transpose it to a different key if we play with harpsichord or something like that. Sometimes complete tracks with audio in it. And on Quantum Gate, we used always one part of Edgar's music and then composed things before it, after it, or playing things on top. On Raum, we did the same, but Raum was 5 years after it, guess? Yeah, around 5 years after. And there was an unbelievable software, and that was much better 5 years after it, called Melodyne. It's normally for tuning things, for vocals, much better than Autotune. And they had kind of doing the voodoo DNA thing, which not, so it has something to do with the overtone structures, but it feels like a little bit like DNA. You can change single notes inside a chord. You can use it polyphonic wise, which is absolutely new. And so this was the kind of eye-opening moment. We can also use Edgar melodies from us composed things. We can let Edgar play one melody, and if there's a chord change in it, which is not part of his melody, we can change that single note inside his chord or melody to fit other chord structures, which is unbelievable to have his playing, his timing, his sound ideas, but playing on chords I composed. It's unbelievable, even 11 years after now.
That's right, yeah.
And we try to not change things so much, but there was kind of morality aspects. So some people, it sounds different to before. Yes, it is. And I felt, so it's not my word to use his tracks for backings played live. So I think that must be strange because he isn't there. And to use Edgar played melody for live, so we re-recorded everything, and for the backings and playing things we could play on top. So most of the melodies and pads are live, but some of the arpeggiators and drum computers are on the backing tapes because we have no drummer on stage, so it's probably no surprise that sorry, but sometimes this is not live. Yeah, okay, this is not live, but the drums aren't live because we don't have a drummer. But you hear drums, and we don't program it on the fly. But we play a lot of things live, and which is kind of sometimes hard because we could mess up things easier. But it's a good idea. And then we started the sessions because of the last concert with Edgar. It was in Melbourne. We played Sorcerer twice on the same day, and the version, so it was the movie Sorcerer on the background, and we playing in front of it, a little bit like picture pairs for silent movies. But the version we rehearsed to was shorter. Maybe it was the frame rate thing, like 24 against 25 in Germany or something like that. And probably more because movie and film converting, there could even 0 point something % problems cause a 4 minute gap, and when the movie is like 2 hours. Yeah, and so we recognize by playing it, I think that doesn't matter anymore. So we have microphone on stage to talk to each other, not to Yeah, and so I think that that doesn't fit. So we improvised the last 4 minutes. So Sorcerer is mostly in C minor. So let's do something in C minor. So I think so. So we can't leave the last 4 minutes blank. so so it was kind of a session. Um, and we really loved the idea of doing sessions. So Ulrich and I spent a lot of hours in the rehearsal room with other musicians, trying to find a way to interact with each other because we never played before as a band. So the Australian concerts were playing existing material, so everyone is doing their lines, but was not creating music on the in the moment or like a band. So we invited a lot of session. Yes, so there were sessions before we played sessions in the rehearsal room just to find our roles inside the music. So I think it was even the orchestral approach that's very important to Edgar, that everyone has a role inside the music. So sometimes very clear. So Hoshiko is, okay, it's doing melodies because she's violinist, but also some drones and pads. But sequencer-wise, which sequences are coming from Ulrich, which was mostly the more clear bass lines, the very reverb shimmering pads, and the high, very short sounding high sequences. So and we just tried it by doing it, and I'm doing the analog modular stuff and modulating things and doing the mids and the very deep bass, because with 3 oscillators on a Moog you have the deeper bass. It was not a competition, just yeah, who played the Moog, and that was also hard because no one could ever expecting what happens. So are people coming to the concerts? Are people listening to the music without being Edgar on stage? It worked quite well. So after some years, I guess, so it was, and yeah, and we played more concerts than ever before. So in 2023 we played 67 concerts, which is the longest tour ever by Tangerine Dream, doing all continents and even so even this is not competition, but you probably I love numbers. I'm very good in numbers. So Raum was the best chart position in Germany of Tangerine Dream ever. This was yeah. So it was 39. White Eagle was 41. But this is, to be honest, this is great. So a little bit. So it's yes, it's at least it's accepted by some people, and that is a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's probably, if it would have not been accepted so well, I would doing this anyway. So it's not related to something else, because it's kind of a quest of the teacher, Edgar, and I have no plan B, so I'm doing this.
Good for you, man. Yeah, I remember I saw you in Brighton, in of course in the UK.
I remember
Again,
that.
I saw you in 2003 in the US. You play in Washington DC in the Lincoln Theater. I saw you a couple plays. That was unbelievable good music, guys. Some people would say, well, it's not Tangerine Dream, it is Tangerine Dream. Edgar is not there, whatever, this and that. But people buy the ticket, people go and see a show, and they have a good time. And you say Rome, reach big numbers. So good for you. Now, of course,
The Schalk in Brighton, right?
yeah, it was. We met in Brighton, I think.
Yeah, I know. It was called the Schalk something, and so sometimes my memory is very bad. But for strange things, the story about was Washington, was a recent theater. But what was the name of it? I guess about
I
that.
think it was Lincoln.
Lincoln Theater.
Lincoln Theater.
It was Washington. So it was.
I saw you there.
Sometimes it was a long tour
Yeah.
in that days, and I remember but it's at home. To be honest, I have a board with some trophies on it. I had the backstage dressing room that Nick Cave had the day before, and there was a paper with his phone number, which I didn't use, but there was also an Australian US power adapter left in one. I thought, I have something from Nick Cave now. And
of course.
Really, that was my Washington, as like 11 a.m. getting into the venue. It was a big day for me because I have the power adapter of Nick Cave now at home. So Nick Cave, if you want it back, call me. Sorry, but these small things, this is part of, I'm happy about that things, to be honest. The same room as Nick Cave, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. And of course, last year you end up releasing a great album with Steve Rothery that we talked about before. The album Gento released in August, and I think you guys were planning on doing a little bit of tour in like 6 cities in November, December, and I think they were canceled or. Unfortunately,
But the problem was it was related to so many things. So we like to have a big LED wall, and it was not possible to rent it in every city. So we had to transport it, and it was not possible to do all the things around it. The biggest problem is about that. The drummer is from Elbow, an unbelievable big band in the UK. And anywhere else. And the next free time frame is in 27. So we are two. So I would have time so we have to, the album deadline of the new album is in May. So after that, I would have time like 6 weeks in June. But in that time, Marillion were on tour. And after that, Elbow are on tour. So and in autumn, Tangerine Dream are playing many concerts. So this is a big problem, and so we will play the tour in 27. In a good word, we will have some new music until then, because working with Steve and with Alex is unbelievable. So.
Wow!
Yeah, so it was a good collaboration. He's singing with his guitar, so it's like having a singer and all the melodies, and it's such a polite, funny, great guy. So it's very great to work with him. There's no arguing about something. He's just a nice guy and an unbelievable good guitar player. And the first guitar player who asked me for a MIDI clock because there was the first 5 minutes in my studio. Could I have a MIDI clock to synchronize my tremolo? And I thought, this is a guitar player I ever wanted.
Good for you, of course. Yeah, of course. That was unbelievable album, and hopefully a new album coming next year in 2026 before you tour. All right, let's talk about 50 years of Phaedra and at the Barbican that was going to be released in a couple of days on Friday, I think. Man, that's a very, 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 very good album. And of course, I'm very grateful with Inside Out Music that they sent me the CDs, which is 2 CDs, right? The album comes with three discs, of course. I mean, there are 3 vinyls and then two CDs. Of course, you start with Sequence C in 2024, and then you go to the Movement of the Missionary, and then Ippolito Session 1 to 7, and then, of course, at the time you were in the middle of your tour. So how you managed to re-record and then put together the track in that order and rehearse in such a way that you can, in the middle of the other tour, you end up recording this. How difficult was?
Okay. 5 seconds, because I have to plug.
No problem. Take your time.
Just.
Yeah.
So it's 15%.
That's right. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, it's loading. Perfect.
Yep.
So the thing on Phaedra is we played it 6 times, I guess, and it's very fast. So it's like the original, the Phaedra of Nottingham version is, I think, was it 156 BPM. So we played the norm. I think in London we played 150, 148. So it differs on 20 BPM if we played it in Birmingham, Manchester, Paris, Lyon. We played this once in Oishot in Netherlands. So it's not a re-recording with prepared tracks. It's live. It's really live. So it differs very much. Every time we played Phaedra, it was so even 20 BPM slower than the one in. I think the fastest one could be in Lyon. It was like 155 something. We rehearsed it just and played it and recreated the sequencer patterns and then just doing it. So I looped a lot of flutes for the sequency thing. But after that, it's most of it is live, and we changed the order of the album. Maybe just not to start with Phaedra itself, because probably Phaedra is the strongest piece on the album because it's a title track, and but start with it and then doing the others. So we just reversed it. Well, inverted it. But it was not the idea. Let's invert the order. It was the the running order we felt comfortably with. So starting with sequence C, which was also strange, going on stage alone with a recorder. So in the Barbican, and it was a very techno club in Paris, and I think it was probably the first guy who opened a concert with a recorder. But it worked quite well, and it feels dense. And the Phaedra main title was Inside a Phaedra Session, which were always leading to the sequence movements of Phaedra, and then the obvious melodies played by Mellotron. Barbican is easy to play because it's unbelievably good sounding room. So it was even the faster tempo is easier in a better sounding room. So I think we were at maybe Manchester was 136, which is it's 20 BPM slower. It was a kind of a like metallic ceiling who was doing bumping noises all the time. You have to slow everything down. We played the whole album and the session, and then with a little interlude, a kind of normal set after it. This was a great evening. I really love London, so it's great. And there's also a thing related to Steve Rothery. It's have the opportunity to fly to London every 6 weeks, something like that. And I love it. It's great. It's a great city. It worked quite well. And maybe I will mix the other versions of Phaedra for Bandcamp just to have a proof that it's played live. So it's very different tempo. You can't match things on it. So okay, but that doesn't matter. But there was I read a Facebook comment, probably the worst thing you could do, reading Facebook comments. But there were people who were recording Sorcerer on many live concerts,
Yeah.
and just putting it over it, and then they playing the same. Yes, it's da, 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 da. Hopefully it's the same. So we have a very loud click on the ear, and
Yeah.
this is probably together with White Eagle and most of the 80s things are very fixed melodies where you should. Okay, it's 78 Sorcerer, but it's a very fixed theme, and it must come on the same bar every evening. Sometimes I'm doing da 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 da, and then da da. Sometimes I'm doing this, sometimes not, and it's just about feeling if it's right or not. But it's not part of the original melody. I know this, but normally it's not live because they're playing the same melody. Hopefully, I play Love and Real Train the same every evening. So I play probably Love and Real Train 600 times. If I play differently, I would have different problems than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the idea to have Phaedra versions out of the moment and resonating with the room, it was a great idea. And the first concert was 50 years after, so it was advertised in a strange way because the France concerts were also titled 50 Years of Phaedra, but it was 51 to be honest, but it was
Right.
not. So I had, no chance. So I wasn't asked about the tour name, to be honest. I thought it was the Phaedra tour, which would be fine, even Phaedra anniversary tour, but 50 years wasn't right, but was not my decision. But thank you for I think you have the vinyl version or the CD version? Or,
No, I have the CD version. I'm waiting for the vinyl should be arriving in a couple of days, so I have the
Okay.
CD version. And of course, the CD version come with a 12-page booklet with your liner notes, so which is very special. At the time in 1974, I think it was the first time of the Moog sequencers that Tangerine Dream that using. Of course, there was at the time the band was Edgar Froese, Christopher Franke, Peter Baumann, and was a great album. So from you, when you guys decided, a couple of years ago, decided, okay, let's do the 50 years or anniversary of that. And in the original Phaedra from 1974, I read there were a lot of imperfection, right? With original sequencers that were never truly quantified, and their time drift, it was unpredictable in many ways due to Moog analog circuitry. Was difficult for you to modify the original in order to make it some better, and any imperfection, so to speak, if they were in 74, now we shouldn't have it with a different sequencer. It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work to emulate the imperfection. Sounds strange. So we are not perfect, but the equipment could be perfect. Not the people. But in that days you had the tape, tempi, irregulations. Then you had all echoes were made by a tape machine, so that it's never. So normally you have 60 thousandths through BPM through 2, and then if you take it 1.5 times, you have an 8-dotted delay with a calculator, and then you just tip the milliseconds into the delay unit, and it's perfect on the grid. Adjusting a tape head on a real existing tape, it's probably not possible to get them. It's 312.8 milliseconds. You can't adjust it on the tape. But this was the charm and the character check of it, and the the warmth and the idea of Phaedra, it sounded completely lifeless if we rehearsed it and just doing the normal quantized step sequencer thing. And so it's a slightly shuffled clock, not the instrument, but even there are possibilities to shuffle the clock, the MIDI clock, which is running the synchronization between everything, and doing some very slightly LFO, low frequency oscillator modulation on tunings and things to get close to the one. So I read also there's sometimes it's strange, and sometimes I'm not answering emails in a month. This is my problem. Yes, I'm not good in that part of the world. There is an info text about the new release that says this over the time it's quantized. I'm not sure where this came from. Yeah, it's not quantized because it's just it was a sequencer running, and some sequencer are synced by sync and gate signals. But it was not it's not better to have it quantized as a nowadays standards. You have to move it a little bit, that it have a lively sound still, and have not the robotic feel or some EBM kind of sequencer feel from nowadays. So that was the main task for recreating or playing Phaedra. To have the slow movements that is not so exactly on the grid, enough on the grid that we can synchronize our equipment. But Paul was restarting loops by hand on every one in one part. And this is kind of the human factor inside a loop. If it's so strange, but he was re-triggering it by hand. And this, I think it worked quite well. It's always hard to judge about things you're involved with. So I'm very, I don't feel great saying this is a great album. I would never say this, to be honest, but because I know where the hums are and what I could have done if I would have 10 years more time. But right. You probably have.
No, but it's a great album. You're very humble, Thorsten, but it's a very good album. And of course, the second part, the happy ending, Sorcerer theme, You're Always on Time, Dolphin Dance, Rare Continue, of course, Los Santos City, Logos, Portico, Eagle, Rum, Phaedra. Man, that's of course, depending on the medium, the order of the track may be different, the vinyl is different than the three, but it's a very good album, and there may be some imperfection here and there, but to bring the memory of those three guys and is great. And of course, I noticed that you're going to be touring. You're going on tour again next week, actually. Tuesday, the 3rd of February, you're doing the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th. Stockholm, entonces Oslo, and so forth. And then I noticed in the webpage that the next gig is going to be July the 31st. Any possibility in between? Any possibility coming to the United States? Are you going to be touring in Europe, I imagine, or is a possibility coming here to the state to do another tour?
There are plans to do this, and so there were plans to do 2 different things outside from Europe. It's sometimes not as easy as 1 year ago. It's true, but we really like and love to do that touring. So when it's going to happen, it would be like 30 or 35 concerts, and there's a plan for end of the year. And it would be great to do this. If we got our papers together, then we will do this. So hey, So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's sometimes it's not easy to play. So even after the Brexit,
Yeah.
UK wasn't as easy as the year before
Yeah.
because of all the taxes, of all the canny things you must fill that you don't sell your instruments in that countries.
Yeah.
So even that you have to fill out every serial number from, and this is a pain on the modeler system. Every model has a serial number that you
I
don't
see.
sell it in the UK and come
Yeah.
back with less than you came into the, because it's not the EU again, and
That's right.
so
Yeah. Wow.
it's getting harder playing outside of Central Europe, and this is a shame, to be honest. So so even doing instrumental music, this is global music in the meaning of itself. We don't have vocals, we don't have lyrics. It's kind of a cosmopolitan kind of music, like hopefully, yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, but we are working on it, and in a good world, which we hope for living, we will come to the States end of this year.
Yeah, I hope so. And of course, as people know, it's a visa you need to pay, and it's very expensive to get here. So you need to make the math to make it work. Otherwise, you will not lose that much money. And how many shows we're going to do, how many tickets we can sell, or to at least break even,
Mhm.
right? And try
No,
to make a little bit of money. It's very difficult, man. I know exactly what
sometimes
it is.
it's and sometimes just the paperwork to get all working licenses for everyone.
Correct. Yeah. And
Yeah,
any possibility? So you mentioned that maybe so touring um, with Steve Rothery in 2027. Any hopefully another album with Steve next year in
yeah,
20
mhm,
well this year 2026, right? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mhm.
And then in the past you have worked with Ulrich Schnauz. Are you is possible to do something with him as well? I mean people love every former member of Tangerine Dream, of course.
Uh,
Something that you can mention or you cannot mention.
yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. So
Yeah.
so we talked about this.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's I think February last year, maybe even the year before. There are plans.
Yeah.
So to do Schnauz Quaeschning something album.
Yeah.
I would love to do this because working with Ulrich is such a pleasure as well. So we are very much so much into music and reacting to each other, and so it was an intensive time. So he was living in my basement while we were producing and composing Quantum Gate.
Yeah.
So we lived together. So it was my girlfriend and him in the same flat. And it was maybe very 70s-esque, to be honest. And but it
Yeah.
was so we made music like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. So and that's what great. And when we are doing music, we get very well along with each other. So that was not our problem, I guess. So maybe not on tour, but on the studio, it was very friendly, and yeah, and like friendship studio. It was great, and I would love to do it. It's always time frame things. So the same is with Schiller. I met him 10 days ago, I guess. So it's a new album on from Schiller. It's #1 in the German album charts now. It was released last week on 16th. Sorry. So I met him the Wednesday before, and there was a plan to do an album together or more tracks. So we did sometimes an album or track. So I think the last track we did was 40 minutes. So it is an album vinyl wise. Yeah, to do this, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's time management, and sometimes 12 months fly. So you have the idea, let's do something together, but you can't find. So you need at least 1 month in a row. So it's not about let's meet for a weekend and then. So with Steve was a different thing. So he came here for 1 week, 1.5 week every December, and it was fine. But he has a different approach of focusing on things. He probably is much better in focusing on things than me. So I must get into the mood and tunnel for a month, and then I'm into it. And sometimes I really love playing festivals. Touring is fine because it's a continuum of dates. But the festivals is sometimes distracting because you're sitting in a studio and have to leave your studio every Thursday to play Saturday somewhere in the world festival, then come back on Monday. And it's much fun playing festivals, but I really enjoy also sitting in a studio just for 2 months in a row and just very into every single detail and not to have even to talk to neighbors sometimes, to be honest. But I really love that idea of isolating in a studio and cocooning is maybe worth it.
Yeah, if you end up doing another album with, as you say, with Steve this year, maybe I will visit you guys one day there and take picture, film some stuff, and give it to you for documentary and stuff like that. I love to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. And of course, with Ulrich now, if you end up, will be great. And I'm looking forward to seeing some Tangerine Dreams gig this year. If for any reason it doesn't work out here in the United States, I will go to Europe and see you a couple of times during the summer, and then hopefully we'll see you again in the stay here. Happy for you to.
There were requests for there was requests for 3 or 4 shows in Southern America as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it's not September, but it's
around there.
I will tell you after it. So it's not the contract is not signed. So there
Not
are
signed yet,
requests. Yes, there's a request, but there are no budgets. There are requests without naming a budget.
Yeah.
And so if the budget is like €500. So that's sorry about laughing, but sometimes you get things like that. That is half a flight to Chile or something. Yeah, and
maybe Chile or Argentina, or you cannot tell. If you cannot tell, don't tell. Maybe.
It was 4 dates, 4 different countries, so it would be that. But we will see how it works, how the offers are after. Sometimes talking about the email sounds great, but we have to know where the budget. But it would be great. I think it would be Tangerine Dream's first time in South America ever.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm from Chile, so that I would definitely. And I think next year, no, in 2028, you and Steve going to the northern Chile for the inauguration of the new telescope there, right? So I think it's 2028 that we.
I think it's a little bit late. I think.
Or 2029, because they push it. They push it to the right? So I think the inauguration was 2027, and then now we're talking about 2029, if I remember correctly, right? So
I think it's a little bit later. So really? I think I heard that Rothery and I should do something there, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, you will do. You will be part of the inauguration when they.
Exactly. Yeah.
When they end up for the inauguration of the new telescope systems there in Aurora, Chile. So I will try to go there as well. Thorsten, was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you next week in the tour, and then good luck with the release of the new album that's coming up on Friday. It's a great album. It's a great album. Imperfection, no imperfection, this or that, whatever. Just enjoy the music, man, and don't complain that much. But there always going to people that they like some stuff, they don't like some stuff. Don't put attention to that stuff. It's good music and it's good music. That's no way around it. And we are honoring the maestro, Mr. Edgar Froese, and we lost so many great people in the last, I don't know, recently, Klaus Schulze and Manuel Goshin, and then and so on and so forth. So, man, there are a lot of great musicians, unfortunately. That's good. that we lost recently. It was very nice talking to you, Thorsten Quaeschning. We'll be talking soon, and if there is anything else that I can do for you guys to promote new music, to promote the album and the tour, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Anything I can do to help you out, I'm happy to do, man. You're being good, very good to me, man.
Thanks
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it. Take it easy. Thanks.